We're celebrating the life and death of child care provider Marian Turner with interviews with some of her daycare kids. We're doing video interviews for people to learn what it was like a long time ago when family child care was a brand new thing in Minnesota, and to celebrate Marian's life and her death. This is Marshal Schrago. I'm Michael Copper, of course, and Marshal was Marian's second daycare child who started in her daycare in 1971. Marshal, where do you live now?
Right now I live in Barcelona, Spain.
And I know you've been all over the place, so give me a summary of other places that you've lived.
I hightailed it out of the States pretty quick, living in Montpellier, France for about 20 years, 5 years in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and now in Barcelona, Spain for the past 2-ish years.
Okay, 2 years or so. Tell us now, because this very much concerns the daycare, tell us about your first trip overseas.
My first trip. Well, I have vaguer memories than I think you would have. My first trip was with the two of you.
With the daycare?
Yeah.
Well, with
daycare.
Michael.
No, it was with you and Marian.
Right, with Michael and Marian.
The daycare sounds like there's a bunch of kids.
No, just you. You were the only one.
Yeah, I had preferential treatment and I loved it.
You did. Well, it's because you spoke French.
Was that the same trip when we went to Holland as well?
Yes,
so?
we went to Holland, and we got to climb up on a windmill, and we got to climb on the vanes of the windmill.
Yeah.
It was very cool. Yes. It would have put my licensing worker in her grave to see you doing that.
Basically, anything that's character building is probably frowned upon.
Yes. Okay. And how many languages, can you even remember how many languages you speak?
Sure, on a daily basis at home in Barcelona, I speak Castellano.
And you've got to say these a little louder and a little slower.
Thank you. On a daily basis, I speak Castellano, which is Spanish to North Americans.
And if I saw the word on a page, being an ignorant American, I'd just call it Castilian.
That's its closest cousin.
Oh,
it comes from
different.
Castilian is the idea, but Castellano has a double L. It looks like Castellano with
Right.
2 L's.
I am picturing a double L. Okay.
Yeah. Castellano and then Català, because we live in Catalunya. And you have to parla una miquita català. Molt bé.
Okay. All right, that's a different, that's a segment of Spain.
Catalunya, yeah. That's the region where you find Barcelona. That's the region where you find Valencia. There are also some French areas that are part of Catalonia as well. They call it Languedoc or Occitan, but it's the same.
And you're 2 hours from France by train.
Yep, 2.5, 3, yeah.
Nice. I wish we had a good train from here to Iowa and another one from here up to Canada. Trains everywhere in Europe.
I'm sorry, it's basically an hour to the border. It's 3 hours to get to Montpellier.
Okay, and tell us about some of the jobs that you've had.
Jobs that I've had. I was a teacher for a long time. When I first moved to France, it's easiest to get work when you're a student teaching. So teaching English to Frenchies. So all ages. You start off in a private language institute and you teach maybe adults. But I had a chance to teach grade school and preschool.
Did you like
community ed. Yeah. I mean, they're all different. They're all fun. I had the most fun with the youngest kids, of course, because we did reminiscent of the radio play that we did back in the day. I did the Hold Up. So the kids got to learn. The parents couldn't believe that kids could memorize lines because it was stick 'em up, hands in the air, freeze, and it was just stuff that they loved. So I was trying to relive some of the radio play days.
Yes, well, Marian and I were very fortunate. We had a radio show on KFAI, and every summer all of the shows were for children, often by children, always for children. Radio plays and disc jockey days and things like that.
That was super fun. It was on a stage and everything.
Well, yes, we got to do a fantastic, participated in the Walker Church's fundraiser for KFAI, and the kids did an amazing Star Trek play. Hannah just wrote to me 2 years ago and asking if we still had a copy of the play. We do not have the play anymore. When the man who was recording the entire weekend with all these very prominent rock bands and comedy club people and very important grown-ups, when he recorded the whole weekend, but when he saw that there were children coming onto the stage, he turned the tape recorder off.
Wow.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Yes. Yeah, Hannah was 3 years old and she read Hungry Mungry, which was 2 pages long and a lot of big complicated words. And she read it perfectly. She was, the other kids, we had the most amazing, incredible daycare kids in Marian's daycare.
I remember we did sound effects and everything on stage,
We
right?
did do sound effects. We did, yes, everything. And the children did all the sound effects, yes. Yeah, you should have heard that black hole sucking in those starships. All right. Do you remember how old you were? Or I guess I've told you how old you were when you started daycare in Marian's daycare.
Yeah, I mean, I know from being told, I wasn't cognizant of the time, but 1 year old.
Mm-hmm. And then there was a graduation into kindergarten or first grade.
Yep.
But then you stayed on as a school age kid. They called them latchkey kids, but there was no latchkey because you were coming to our daycare home.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly how long it went on because I would go back to the daycare as a daycare kid, and then when I got older, a daycare assistant.
Right, we paid you.
And then when I got older and older, I did work on the house here, did some painting.
Yeah.
And so it felt like time away, but never like...
The trim you painted with that Teflon-based paint still looks perfect.
Oh, yeah?
I know, it's amazing.
I credit the paint, not the painter.
Right, well, I give it both, but you should know that when you were a younger child, when you were a preschooler or a young school-age child, not in the sense that a licensing worker would mean it, but you ran the daycare.
That sounds bad.
Well,
that explains my daughter.
Sometimes, yes, sometimes we had to, pull in the reins, but we would tell you that we wanted the kids to come in for lunch, and you would round them up, and they would come in for lunch, and we would tell you that we wanted them to be careful when they were swinging so that they wouldn't bump somebody else, and before we could speak, you would tell them that they were going too high and they were going to bump one of the other kids. You'd say, "Don't bump the baby." And they wouldn't. They listened to you. They listened to you better than they listened to me. Yeah. So I'm a little bit jealous.
That still explains my daughter. I like to blame that on my wife because she's very bossy, so don't let her know.
Okay, right. She'll never see this.
She'll never see this.
No one will see this, I promise.
I still blame my bossy daughter on my bossy wife, but I know that I have a type A personality, so
yeah.
We spoiled her.
And when you quit being a daycare kid, it was when you were about 11 years old. But then, as you said, we convinced the licensing workers to have a category that was called helper. It wasn't actual legal child care assistant, but we were allowed to pay you for doing puzzles with the children and sitting down with them and reading to them and pushing them on the swing and things like this. And it worked. It was very, very nice.
I remember back in the day, the best payment was points.
Yeah, we had the point system was amazing. And
does that still exist?
Yes. Hannah, does the point system still exist?
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, we would have the kids earn points and they could save the points and then spend them. I would take them to Target or the dollar store or the Salvation Army.
Or Michael's.
Yeah, what?
Or Michael's.
Yes, or to Michael's, that's right.
What's Michael's?
It's a giant, you tell them, what's Michael's?
It's a really, really big craft store.
Okay.
Yes, it's arts and crafts, every kind of glue and glitter and paint and paper that you could ever imagine, and hundreds more that you never even thought could exist. And they're all at Michael's. It's the size of a Target store, all for arts and crafts.
So the kind of things that you could cash in for your points, what's the best? Like, what's your
best?
top three?
I like the dollar store. Salvation Army, and that's really wherever we go, really.
So times have changed. I remember the things that were some of them, the top of the list were big excursions. I forget if we did.
Oh yes,
We did like
one of
Lake
the
Rebecca, we
yes,
did-
Lake Rebecca, way out to the west, way out to the
I
west.
don't know if the State Fair was on there
Yeah.
or something.
And I
like that, or
probably
Valley
shouldn't
Fair,
admit
or-
this because I could probably still be arrested even 40 years later for doing
what?
it.
Going to Lake Rebecca.
No, well, no, Lake Rebecca was totally
like the Science
kosher.
Museum.
No, well, that was too
Killer
but
things like
no,
that.
I made you guys pay for the Apple River. I took the children on the Apple River.
Yeah, but oh my God! You know how much I have to pay for my kids' school?
It
What
was,
are you saying?
It was
Everyone
wonderful.
pays. Yeah,
It was wonderful. You guys would earn points,
course.
and the Apple River cost 60 points. What you didn't know, of course, was that I was, of course, paying for most of it. You hadn't earned anywhere nearly enough points to go on an Apple River trip, but you had the sense of working hard for that trip, of doing a lot of leaf raking and snow shoveling.
And I have a theory. I'd be curious to know. You can tell maybe a fair amount about the kids as to which ones spend them quickly and which ones save them up.
Oh yes,
Right?
well,
A psychological profile?
The children developed. They developed at first. When they would get points, they would spend them right away. Immediately, as soon as they had 6 points, they had to spend them. And I would say, if you save it for 12 points, you could actually buy a Hot Wheels car. But with 6 points, all you can get is like this little notebook or a little pack of colored pencils. And
My memory is back in the day we didn't have anything that was like physical. It was only activities. I might be wrong.
Well,
But again, this is
there were a lot of
100 million,
activities.
1,000 years
yes,
ago.
I did charge kids. I think it was 6 points to go to a dollar
Sure.
movie, $1 movie out in the Roseville Theater before that became too decrepit to bring kids there. Yeah, yes, but the thing that they would do after they learned to save points, then the next stage they would go through is I couldn't get them to spend the points. We would go to the store, and kids like Sophie and Aaron, they would save the points until they had 100 points or
for
120
what?
points.
What would they do with the 100?
Well, eventually,
They catch them all in at the dollar store and
eventually
go
they
wild?
would do something like they would buy a really expensive piece of computer software. Aaron bought a beautiful hand-carved wooden snake, and when you moved it, the snake would kind of crawl along.
Okay.
No batteries for Aaron. It had to be real hardwood and hand-carved and very, very pretty. And she bought this beautiful snake at a very small, creative kids
Times
kind of-
change. I
kind of
remember
toy store.
again, the top things were different types of activities. Either the Science
Yes.
Museum, Apple
The
River,
Science
Lake
Museum,
Rebecca.
Apple River, Lake Rebecca, yes, camping.
Yeah.
But I took
I
you to
asked that
Target.
why because when I was old enough in my own family to get an allowance,
Yeah.
I would ask my mom how much I had, and I wouldn't touch it. I would check in to see how much it was, and I said, no, hold on to
And
it
what's very important
for
to
later,
me here,
because the idea of you can get the small thing, maybe the movie theater, or you work a little more, and you can get the bigger thing.
I bought my cat with my
what was you guys
You
can
can
go
buy a
and do
cat?
computer.
Yeah, I
if you
bought my
want
cat
to.
with my money I raised.
Oh, I thought with points, Michael.
Yeah, I'm like, yep, I bought my cat with Michael.
Yep.
You're
You guys are welcome to listen to my interview with Marshall, or you can go and do computer. We'll be done in a few minutes, and then we
Okay.
can do other stuff.
Wait, I have one question.
It's
for you
too windy
before
to
you
fly the airplane. I'm
leave. Yeah, I
sorry.
figured.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Definitely.
All right, yeah,
I have one
quick.
question. What was it like when they invented the wheel?
The wheel wasn't invented until we had already opened the daycare. We used the wheel to haul things back to the daycare, coal and rocks.
So wait,
we would have the kids.
how long have you been here?
Me? I've
Yeah.
been here for. Wait, I first saw Eve
think
in
it's like
the
4 years.
backyard. 4?
I think it's like 4 years.
Wait,
Yeah.
so I was.
You guys were really old.
I
when you
was
started.
in I was in first grade, so I was
So
6.
you were too big for like little kid toys like that thing over there,
That
little trike thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't. Those were invented like.
You're never too big for
Yeah.
those. That's my
I know.
invention.
I
It's
scoot
any
around those
size
still,
child.
yeah.
No, because I remember that. That's how long it's been around.
Yes, those wooden
that
trikes
is
that
about-
I made with
Is it
with
6,
industrial
8, or
steel
10 times
wheels.
older than you? I don't know. It's something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes.
So yeah, 4 years.
The kids would ride those down the slide, ride them down rocky hills.
Oh, I remember that. That was me.
And crash them into, and they're indestructible. They're still in perfect shape.
Yeah, I saw
They
that.
still work perfectly. They're one of my best inventions. That and Michael's magic magnets. Yes.
That's what
That's right. The disc magnets that boing. But don't tell anybody about them because I still hope to patent them and retire rich. Well, I've already retired, but I want to leave a lot of money behind.
From your retirement.
Yes. So, yeah, the thing about the points that was amazing to me that I really thought. It's horrible bragging, but I thought that we did it extremely well because they were not points for behavior. We were not trying to manipulate the kids. The kids liked earning points because it was the same way that you and I earn money.
Yeah.
And that
you
was
have to do something.
That's one of the toys.
You have to do something.
You have to do something.
It has to be something that we would normally hire a grown-up to do. It couldn't be chores. You never got points for doing chores.
Of course not.
And you never got points taken away for naughty behavior. Naughty behavior was its own reward or its own punishment. It was different.
So the reason why I ask you is because with my wife now we're starting, dealing with these things with different age kids and trying to figure out at what point we can have an incentive system. And my wife was putting together a list and she said, cleaning up the room, I said, that doesn't count. They live there.
Right.
It has to be something helpful around the house.
Right. If it's for your family,
Yeah.
it's a chore. And people have long wondered. I've seen all kinds of interviews and research papers where they're wondering, should they have the kids do chores or should they give them money for chores or should that be an obligation because you belong to the family? And my solution was to do both in what I think of as a really coherent way. You don't take away their points for misbehavior or for being naughty or for hitting their friend.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on whether or not their friend deserved it, that was always a factor. Of course, in daycare, children would never hit each other. One child hitting another child was a massive failure of the daycare.
No, but that's what brothers and sisters do constantly.
Well,
so that's what I live with my kids at home. Of course they do that to each other.
And daycare children are not allowed to behave like normal children. They are not allowed to have a normal childhood. That's actually quite a serious thing for another discussion. But, so we liked the points because it wasn't a behavior modification system, except to the extent that it taught the children that they were valuable and that they were important and that they could do valuable, important things and that they could contribute to the world and that their work and that, and their intelligence and then their agency was valued in the same way that adults' work is valued, with something that you could spend to do something, to go to the science museum or to buy a toy or a book. I mean, we had one girl, what she really liked doing was going to Dreamhaven and buying hardcover books. And that was her thing. And the people in Dreamhaven were just awestruck. They said, your kids are so amazing. I just can't believe it. They're the only kids that we let run loose in our store. They're really amazing kids. And I felt so proud of the daycare children. Anyway, yeah, all right. We've been reminiscing about activities. Any other activities at Marian's daycare that you want to talk about?
I mean, it's basically an infinite list.
Do you remember the butterflies?
Monarch butterflies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the thing. There was an aquarium, there were monarch butterflies, there was Zero, who I actually modeled a lot of my life after.
You better tell them who Zero was.
Zero was a dog. the dog I grew up with.
Zero the hero.
Okay, you told me once the story of how he got his name, so I wasn't there for that.
That was a rough story, but yeah.
But Zero to me, because that was the first dog that I knew, and such a, how can you say? It's kind of like your first love. You think they're all that good. So that was my first real dog, and I assumed that all dogs were as awesome as Zero, and as patient and fun-loving and easygoing, and you could yank his ear, and he would just look at you like, not again, and you couldn't do anything that would really upset him. And the goal wasn't to do that, but I mean, there are breeds that are more nervous, that can't tolerate those things, and I just found my It's hard to put into words.
We were at the park, and
Everything about Zero's soul was beautiful because he was always happy and playful and always was able to participate with anybody and everybody. And that was something that I thought was an amazing quality in any living thing, to be
Yes.
that involved. And
well, we were very, very lucky to have him. We thought he was incredible too. When we were camping once, he made the bear, not our sweet rolls. We didn't leave our sweet rolls out, but a neighboring camper left their sweet rolls out. And Zero made the bear drop the sweet rolls, and he brought them back, chewed up, but he returned them to the camping people in the next campground. And I'm not making that up. And there was a really terrible, grim thing that happened while we're reminiscing about how amazing Marian's daycare was. I'm not sure if this is on topic, but we had a crazy neighbor who had bought 2 guard dogs, giant German shepherds, and he let them loose. They attacked one of our neighbors, a university professor, while he was riding his bicycle to the university. And he had to go to the hospital. Yes, this dog attacked Eric Bauer and sent him to the hospital. But before that happened, he loosed the dogs on me and the daycare children.
on purpose.
When we were down, throwing sticks for Zero, right on the little hill that was at the side of the daycare, that steep hill where we found all the butterfly, with the monarch butterfly eggs. And he loosed them on purpose at us and pointed at us, and these 2 giant dogs came to attack us, and Zero fought those dogs to a standstill while I got the daycare children back into the house. And then I came outside with a baseball bat, and I was going to try to help Zero, but he had already driven them off. And horribly, but soon after, the dogs attacked Eric, and then the dogs were put down. Now that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Marian some more. Did you have friends at the daycare that you still remember? What did you guys do? Who were your friends?
The ones that stand out the most were Hillary Cairns and Anyanya Matimba, who goes by Andre nowadays.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from Hillary in 100 million years since I left the daycare, but Ani and Andre are still in contact. I'll be seeing him this week.
Hillary jogs along the garden paths in Washington, D.C. these days. And she's I don't know what she thinks of President Dump Truck, but she is something in Washington. Yep. Okay.
But you were asking about, things I remember from the daycare. I mean, again, the list is so long that it's hard. And there are things that I incorporate when I feebly try to raise my own children. So one of the first things I remember that I didn't see in any of my friends' household, it didn't exist in my home either, was that when you're given food, you don't have to finish it, but it'll be there the next meal. So you learn really quick to unlearn thinking that you can get out of eating something.
Oh dear.
I don't know if that still works nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's a really helpful and important thing because it's from a parenting standpoint, it's so much easier just to move on to the next. And sometimes if I'm lazy, I eat it.
Our
because
rule
it's
was that we
leftovers,
did not fight with the children about food. We just had simple